From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on LALATE.
It's a big day here on LALATE with your incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. Direct from Santa Monica, California, Buck will be cutting back to Ukraine and the battle to hold the capital against those Russian troops. All the latest details, you're looking at stock footage of the beautiful capital of Ukraine, but we'll be starting with your big money back in the States. The Build Back Better Act, the fourth stimulus recon, the latest updates coming up in today's recording at home. Then we'll be looking at CR for stimulus 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0. Getting breaking news across the land. Good news, as $1.5 trillion of discretionary spending is staying in there. That could amount to at least a $2,000 stimulus check for you in just a few days. This is in addition to the Build Back Better Act that's coming right behind it. I have the latest updates on that, plus the big economic news that came in on Friday, the economic news coming this week that impacts your wallet and impacts SS 300, the raising up of your benefits, an additional $300 a month. But you know what Home LALATE is about? Home and street and stimulus, and today we do it a little bit different. We often talk about decor, we often talk about fashion, and we also talk about beauty and food, but today we also talk about supporting Ukraine. And in today's recording, we'll go over how you can support this country of Ukraine by simple purchases here in the United States to allegiance to the citizens, and show you how to get up to date by the minute from the official statements that are coming out of the Ukrainian government, and also local reporters on the scene in the town. I'll have the latest details on how you can translate that across the board and be up to date by the minute about every event unfolding. And while you're at home or in school or in the streets, you could be wearing clothing supporting the resistance across the land. We have the latest details on that, plus the breaking news about how to get big money for third stimulus. It's big money available for you across the board. We'll be cutting back and forth. We have a huge recording with a lot of breaking news. You're watching a special edition of Home and Street and Stimulus. It's right from Santa Monica, California. And the excitement starts right here, right now, as we stand with the people of Ukraine. I stand with Ukraine. You should as well. The details, everything you need to know, everything you want to know, starts right here as we try to stop Russia. And how are you? Good afternoon, everybody. The capital of Ukraine is Kyiv, and Vladimir Putin was anticipating to take it within just a few days, certainly by Saturday morning, and he's failed dramatically. The Ukrainian forces have sustained the capital and have pushed back valiantly, and Vladimir Putin may not be able to even succeed in taking not even the capital, but not even the country. The latest breaking details from the ground in today's recording, that will be coming up in a second. And the second half of this recording will go over how you can get information from the ground, from the country of Ukraine itself, direct and live, how to translate it, how to get it from the news reporters. They're actually in the capital. They are in Kyiv, and they work for the independent news outlets. And then how at home, you want to go to the supermarket wearing a shirt that supports your allegiance for the people of Ukraine as they are so valiantly fighting off these horrible forces from Russia. All the latest details on that in this hybrid recording. But first, we're going to go into the big money that's available for you under third stimulus, fourth stimulus, and more. We're going to start with the Build Back Better Act, the fourth stimulus recon that has lots of checks in there. Then we'll be turning to CR for stimulus. That's the fastest check you can get in less than a few days from now if they get it done. Breaking details on that. It's a hybrid recording, so I'm going to go a little bit fast because we have a lot to cover. But what's important to remember is Build Back Better Act is going to pass. It has about $15,000 of checks, upwards of $60,000, with 3 clusters and 3 add-ons. Cluster number 1, got in there, staying in there. Hazard pay. That is for my essential workers. Earned income tax credit, 1 more year of it. Then the CTC, the children's checks, $3,600 staying in there one more year across the board. $4,000 of elder care got in there. $4,000 of care for young children. $550 check for the Pell Grants got in there as well. $12,500 across the board for the purchase of a new electric vehicle and home repairs if you live in a low-income community. There is 3 clusters of checks and 3 add-ons of checks. The 3 add-ons of checks start with one that is really quite exciting. It's one of the most exciting provisions for viewers of this channel. It comes from here in Southern California. Maxine Waters got it in there. $25,000 towards the purchase of your first home. Yeah, at the time of escrow, right before you're about to close escrow, the federal government gave a little bit less than $25,000 to the seller in your name. It's huge. Got it in there. Now let's turn to that second cluster of checks, home repairs and paid leave. Home repairs is if you have to sustain, do something so that your home can sustain natural disaster, which is every time that Mitch McConnell is singing karaoke in the front lawn, Lex next door. Yeah. Put in a water feature to drown out that horrible singing talent. Then paid leave. Paid leave is every time your ears hurt because you heard Mitch McConnell singing again. So how much does paid leave pay? It pays a lot. $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. Annual salary $35,000, then it's $800 a week. What if your annual salary is only $15,000? That's $400 a week. It's a lot of money across the board. And that is $4,000 to $6,000 a year. W-2, 1099, you all get it. If your son or daughter works, but you don't work, don't worry. If they have to take off from work to take care of you, they get the check as well. And that is how it rocks and rolls. It's incredible, and it is in there. Now, that is the second cluster checks. How about the second add-on of checks? The second add-on of checks comes from Bob Casey and Joe Biden. Can you imagine if you're a senior on a disabilities and you want some home health care, you don't get it covered currently? It's surprising, but they got it in there. A little bit less than $250 billion for free home health care for seniors and people with disabilities. We're talking still about the fourth stimulus recon of the Build Back Better Act. Got it in there. Now let's go to that third cluster checks where we find deliciousness. Free internet for all. Now there is currently free internet. If you need it, find it from the volunteers, but this would be a little bit broader. Free internet for all across the board. Then they got in there checks for seniors, checks for workers, checks for farmers, free school meals for all checks, cheaper prescription medication. But the seniors, they're getting a lot of help in this third cluster. They first got in there the incredible Medicaid gap fix, which provides low-income uninsured people in 12 Republican holdout states insurance coverage, thank goodness, and also hearing aid checks. So you will get those checks. Then on the Senate side, they vow to add in there dental, vision, and lowering the eligibility age of Medicare. Wow, from 65 down to 55. And that is what the Senators vow to add in there just to start. Guess what they also want to add in there? Yeah, you know those 3 letters. Jump in the live chat right now and write those 3 letters. If you know what that third add-on of checks are, I see it. MSC. What is MSC? It is a body of additional checks they hope to add to this fourth stimulus recon that already has about $60,000 of checks in there for you. And these MSC checks stand for monthly IRS stimulus checks. Who get them? Who gets them? Let's go over all the details. Follow along. I'm going to cover your answers right now. Eligibility would be the same as a third stimulus check the senators represent. So, single individuals, $75,000 less annual income, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less annual income, you get it. Double it. Family of 4, you get it as well. Quadruple it. If you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, you would get it as well. And is it taxable? It's not taxable. It's not income. Is it offered nationwide? It is. Goes off the direct deposit account on the last tax return. And if you didn't have a tax return, then it comes in the mail. And then how much? $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months. As one viewer said the other day, her fiance told her she has to pay it back. Wrong. My response is, check and see if you can still return the engagement ring back. I think you're within the 30-day window. Hurry. Move quickly. You got to find a new husband that knows what he's talking about. So when will they add these provisions in there? On the Senate subcommittee floor. That has not happened. And that is why I brought back CR for Stimulus 1, 2, and 3, and 4.0 back on this channel. But CR for Stimulus 1.0 mirrors what happened 2 years ago. What happened? Well, let's take it back 5 weeks ago. 5 weeks ago, I said to viewers of this channel, I said, do you want me to bring back CR for Stimulus? And they said, yes, bring it back. What is CR for Stimulus? The concept is using a small bill, just a few hundred pages in length, that has bipartisan support, that has an inherent deadline, that we insert a check in there and get it out faster than Build Back Better. It does not replace Build Back Better, does not negate Build Back Better. It just gets you a check sooner. Viewers said, do it, LA. And we've done it. And since birth, CR for Stimulus 1, 2, 3, and 4.0. I have breaking news about each of them right now. I'm going to get right into that breaking news right off the board. If you want to learn more about what CR for Stimulus is, watch Afternoons LA, which comes up right after this video. So let me tell you the breaking news on CR for Stimulus 1.0. The continuing resolution budget bill, which has an inherent deadline of early March, just a few days away from now, is staying in PAC. And it's staying in with that date. So that's the great news, first off the bat. The second great news is that the funds that are in there are staying in place. We had a tense Thursday and Friday where we were worried two groups were trying to take the money. The money is staying in there. What are we talking about? It's $1.5 trillion of funds have been allocated in the continuing resolution via bipartisan negotiations between House and Senate Democrats and Republicans over the last 2 months. So they've all agreed upon this, folks. So what was the concern for 48 hours? The concern was the White House was trying to take some of this money for COVID testing, and the restaurant union was trying to take some of this money for itself. Patrick Leahy, Senator of Vermont, stopped them. So that's good. Now, you need to do your effort. What is your effort? What you've been doing all along, but a little bit more. And you know, when I talk about time crunches, I think we're at that time crunch right now because we're just a few days away from when they're going to determine the legislation. So you want to advocate to those legislators the following message. Include Leahy, who is not in this loop. What you want to say is keep the money of $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds in there, which they will. Make sure they keep the discretion in the hands of the cabinet members of Joseph Biden, which they will. It includes Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who's in charge of IRS. And make sure you don't spend the money on things that don't need the money, like climate and stamps. Make sure you give us at least a $2,000 stimulus check. We've had your back through Build Back Better. 11 months of negotiation, no deal. You promise us a check, you promise us multiple checks, MSCs. And Build Back Better is not a law. So we need a check now. We're struggling through inflation. And as we struggle through inflation, we need a check right now. Build Back Better will become a law, but get a check out to us across the board. That's the latest updates on CR for Stimulus 1.0. All great news, the checks. The money is staying in there, but you want to make sure they spend the money on you. I haven't had a situation looking so good in a long time where we have the money in there. It has bipartisan support, but we also have to be careful. You don't want them to spend the money the wrong way. So we have to advocate down to the point. Now, I stand with Ukraine, and I'm very troubled in what I got to report to you on CR for Stimulus 4.0. This is a hot mess. I almost added a word that starts with the letter A before that because I'm not happy on this one. CR for Stimulus 4.0. I've been covering this on this channel for a while. I mean, I've been covering Ukraine and Russia on this channel since September of last year. I said this was going to be the biggest story of the new year. I covered it before Halloween. Then I was covering, 2 months ago, where Republicans and Democrats had bipartisan support before President's weekend, to pass a Russian sanctions bill from Congress. It's different than the one from the White House. And they didn't get it done. And it wasn't their fault. It was Chuck's fault, Chuck Schumer. He didn't call for a vote. It's really horrible. It looks awful. This is Republicans and Democrats both wanted to call for a vote, and I've gone over it a lot. Now, what happened in the last 48 hours? It was morphing also into a Ukrainian support legislation. Good news for us, bad news for the people of Ukraine. That's why it's very hard for me to report this. The good news is that Leahy did it right and said, okay, that's a separate piece of legislation. I'm not going to touch the continuing resolution that is early March. This separate piece of legislation, we're going to do it, but I'm not going to touch that. Good for us, bad for the people of Ukraine. Overnight, President Zelensky said he got a message from the White House saying, We have an envoy, a convoy, a limo ready to escort you out of Ukraine to a safe haven. He says, I don't need an escort. I need ammunition. You ain't giving me Zippo. And this is why it's hard to make this recording because it's true. Overnight, it's very well documented that the country of Poland, neighboring Poland, gave Ukrainian military forces enormous ammunition, tanks, and more. What have we given them? Not much, folks. It's pretty disgraceful that the United States has given very little to the country of Ukraine. And that is where CR for Stimulus 4.0 is right now. 2 and 3.0 are nothing to do with Ukraine or Russia. They are economic pieces of legislation. So let's go back on point on those. Those emerging in the Senate. Passed in the House, won by Democrats. And then the senators have their Republican version. The great news is that they both want to get it done. Why? Because Republicans and Democrats understand that the midterm elections will be won based upon passing economic legislation to battle with inflation. So let me go right into SS 300, the economic news that came in, the importance of the oil crude numbers and the Federal Reserve all this next week. Let's go right into it, but it's coming up in just a second. First, let me give you a understanding of where we are right now. We have your money, we have inflation, and we have oil. We have three very different economic forces at play. Number one is inflation. Joe Biden can help you within 30 days from now, and he should do it. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, he should do what I'm making in this recording instantly. Pick up the phone and call the Social Security Administrator saying, replace COLA with inflation. Immediately within 30 days, your benefits will go up $200. December of this year, they'll go up another $100. And then year after that, maybe $40. Why? Because inflation is really high. It's about 8% right now. I was the only person that predicted that inflation rate for December 2021. All last year, when the Federal Reserve was at 1% and 2% predictions, I said, it's 8. It came at 7.5% in December. Now, we're waiting for just this week to see the latest inflationary number for January. I've been training you how to do this yourself. You can go to the supermarket, buy those eggs, look at the price of eggs, same brand, same quantity, same market. Did it go up 10 cents? Did it go up 20 cents? You'll see the inflation number before I even record it to you. Now, overnight, we had breaking news about an inflation gauge number. This is not the inflation number. It's a gauge of where the inflation number would be. Awful. 5.2%, the highest annual gain since 1983, led by food and energy prices up 6.1% year to date. This is the preferred core PCE measure, which is what the Federal Reserve uses. Okay, so what does this mean? It means that the inflation you saw in December, which I reported would be 8% all last year, everyone told you it was going to be 1%. They were wrong, came in at 7.5%. In December, then in January this year, I said, I think it's going to stay the same, maybe go up a little bit, but it's not going to come down. Well, this number is suggesting, again, we haven't gone down yet. I don't believe we're going to go down for a few months. We had the producer price index number come in about a week ago. That was 10%. We have inflation numbers in Florida and California, 12%. So we know we're not coming down. This is why Joe Biden needs to do this right now. He needs to get you that money for SS 300 right now, because this would solve one of the problems. All right, now let's turn to a separate issue, which is the Federal Reserve. In less than 2 days from now, folks, approximately 2 days, the Federal Reserve will have the first of 5 meetings this year. They're called FOMC meetings, in which they determine to raise interest rates or not. These interest rates hurt your wallet because it costs more to operate, costs more to do things. And we don't know what we're getting ourselves into in predictions. 6 months ago, we thought there would be one interest rate spike in those 5 meetings this year. At the time of this recording, it looks like we're going to have 5 interest rate spikes in 5 meetings. Quarter basis points. Let's use that as our benchmark. Remember that number. 5 meetings, 5 spikes, quarter basis each meeting. Last week, before Russia invaded Ukraine, we were starting to get a little bit antsy because we were hearing that maybe the meeting next week would be a half basis point. That's double. Analysts now think that the Federal Reserve would be misguided to doing a half basis point next week based upon Ukraine and Russia. There's also additional concerns the Federal Reserve would do 7 spikes in 5 meetings this year. So we're very, very on edge with that. That's number two. We had inflation, now we have the Federal Reserve. Number three is the easiest one for you to understand. It's gasoline at the pump. Gasoline at the pump, and I need you to know this number with you. I've been training you to learn this number. It's Brent crude. You don't buy this yourself. It's what's bought by the wholesaler, the price of a barrel of gasoline. Where is it right now? Easy number, $100. The problem is Ukraine and Russia. The more oil, gasoline that's in circulation, the cheaper it is. If there's less gasoline available for us to have, then it's more expensive. Pretty simple concept. Okay, so Russia is a major provider of gasoline to the world, and so is Ukraine. They are now not in our supply chain because of what's unfolding in Russia and Ukraine. So the end result is that gasoline prices are stemming higher. So what does that mean for us, and what has Joe Biden done in the last 48 hours? 3 major moves, but he needs to do bigger and bolder faster. Let me tell you what's the problem before I get to the solution. The problem is very bad. The problem is that we, as an economy, at $100 a barrel right now, can sustain that for about 6 months if inflation doesn't go higher. I don't think it's going to go higher. I think we're really at our peak right now. 6 months and that's it. After that, we can't sustain it. But the problem is we may not be at $100 a barrel. There are big concerns that if Russia and Ukraine go on longer, which it looks like at the point it's going that way, because President Zelensky is doing an incredible job blocking those Russian forces, then we may be hitting towards $125 a barrel in the United States for gasoline. We can't sustain that. $135, very, very bad news for us. What does that cause in our economy? It would cause recession, stagflation, which means that it'll cost more to buy goods and you're making less money, unemployment, and then negative growth, meaning an economy, the United States that usually grows as an economy, would shrink. It's really bad. Federal Reserve can't fix it. Biden administration can. 3 ways. 1, release some of the gasoline that's in the strategic reserves that the federal government has. We have it stock low. So that if you release that gasoline, then the price of gasoline comes down. He did that this week. He's looking at $93 a barrel. Remember I told you we're at 100 right now? He's trying to bring it to 93. Good move. Number 2, I like the second one. He threatened any U.S. manufacturer of gasoline that is trying to stick it to us with their prices, saying if your gasoline made domestically in the United States, you see upper problems overseas and try to stick it and price gouge Americans, I will criminally prosecute you. I love that. Number 3 is our best deal, but I don't know how quickly he can get to it. It is a potential deal with Iran. Iran has millions of gallons of gasoline available to us, but have not been because we are in negotiations over a treaty for nuclear arms. We believe that treaty is going to be reached. And when it's reached, then those millions of gasoline barrels will be released in our economy and the price of gasoline will go down dramatically. But it's taking time to get that agreement done. So that is why that situation is very fluid across the board. And with that, you see this is a very hybrid recording usually. A home screen stimulus is usually starts with your big money, first, second, third stimulus, fourth stimulus, and then cuts into food and decor. But in the second half of this video, we're going to look at how to stand with Ukraine. I stand with Ukraine. Stop Russia. Stop Putin. I'm going to go over how you can get breaking news from the ground. I don't mean from U.S. reporters. I mean from Ukrainian reporters and from the actual Ukrainian government. I'll show you how you can do it yourself. Then I'll show you how to lend your support to the people of Ukraine back here in the United States. I'll jump in the commentary, into the comments. We'll have a live chat and engage as well. Finally, I want to go over third stimulus, which is covered more in detail on Afternoons LATE and Evenings LATE right after tonight's recording. And boy, this money is available for you right now. It's third stimulus, rent, utilities, more. I want you to get that money because you need money. Let's get some money today. That's what I do on this channel, get people money. And where do you get the money? Let's go over that again. Here is where you get rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and food. The Success stories are featured throughout today's recordings. We have 6 success stories in just 3 days. Viewers are averaging about 3 to 5 months of rent, so it's about $5,000 to $7,000 this week. Do you want $5,000 to $7,000? I think you do. Let's follow along. Reach out to your city hall, city house authority, county hall, county house authority. Keywords you can say are rent assistance because of COVID, utility assistance because of COVID, mortgage assistance because of COVID. And there are 3 musts you must do. You must reach out to all 6 places, put multiple applications on file, do multiple rounds, get as much money out as far as possible. Lean on that membership newsletter. It comes out to Monday through Friday that features all the sources for these funds. And rely on those nonprofits because they really help you on the rent and utilities when potentially a county is out of the money. Very rarely, but they also help you. Average view of this channel has gotten $45,000. Viewers are getting multiple rounds. You should as well. Act today, move very quickly across the board and get that money. Do not wait. And there you go. In the second half of this video, we're going to look out to how to get information on the ground from the actual country of Ukraine and the independent reporters that work in the capital. I'm not talking about U.S. reporters. Then how to show your allegiance to the country of Ukraine by goods back in the United States. The latest details on what is happening right now in the Capitol. It's a big, fluid situation. It's noon. It's home, and we're far from over. I'll see you back in 60 seconds as home continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the latest details from ground in the capital of Ukraine, Kyiv, is that Russian troops are about 18 miles outside of the city center. Certainly, if you're on social media, you can see the images of one of the residential towers hit by a missile sent by Russian troops today, part of several floors collapsing minutes ago. The situation is that Vladimir Putin's advances on the capital have not gone as he anticipated. He anticipated to take the capital of Ukraine by Saturday morning. Not even close, not even able to get in within 18 miles of the country. The Ukrainian forces are being aided with new ammunition delivered by neighboring country of Poland overnight. Great resources coming in from Poland. As millions of Ukrainian refugees are fleeing into Poland in some cases, others are taking up arms to defend their country. In the second half of this video, we're going to go over how to learn about all this from the ground, not filtered out through propaganda machines, but actually coming from the sources themselves. I have the latest details direct from Ukraine starting right now. The imagery you're looking right now is stock footage of the country and also the capital, Kyiv. It's not from today. All right, first let's go into social media. When looking at social media, if you're on Twitter, follow LALATE at Twitter, and you will see me retweeting some of the comments and messages that are coming in from the ground in Ukraine. And you may look initially, think and say, understand this language, what is being said, let me go over how you learn about what is being said and follow along. First, here is one news reporter. He works for the independent newspaper in the capital, and he tweets in English. So obviously, for people who don't want to go through the effort of understanding how to translate a tweet, he's very easy to follow along. Gives you great information across the land of both the video, the casualties, the latest developments by the minute. He also retweets some of the official accounts. Now, there is an official count from the country of Ukraine, and then there is an unofficial count that supports the military efforts of Ukraine. They give you the latest updates by the minute with not only video links, images, links back to Facebook, but it also gives you updates of what is happening by the moment. Some of the graphics are too intense to be shown on a channel, and so that's why you don't see them here. I will not be showing you explosions or fire or anything like that on this channel, but these are social media accounts. You can find them by following LALATE at twitter.com/LALATE. And when LALATE retweets it, then at that point you can go in there and read the tweet and follow those accounts as well. All right, so then if you're looking at an account where the language looks different, what do? Very simply, when you're inside of that account and you're looking at the respective tweet, open up the respective tweet. And in that respective tweet, there's usually a line right under it that says translate the tweet. And if you translate the tweet, then what happens is it brings it back into English. Let's jump into one of those examples right now. So here is a series of tweets that came in the last few hours, and you may say, what is being said there? The way you do it, if it's not a video, which obviously sometimes expresses words better than even letters, is you can open up the tweet. Let's see if I can do it here. Sort of hard on a broadcast station, but you can open up the tweet, and generally underneath the tweet, there's a line that says translate the tweet. And if you and it's sort of hard for me to see based upon the size of what I'm working with on the screen here, but you can click the button and it'll then translate the tweet for you. Of course, you have people like this news reporter from the Kiev Independent actually tweeting in English. What's really helpful across the board is that there's a lot of very, very bad disinformation out there, and it's very, very sad. You know, for years, there's certain accounts that LALATE has followed because I perceive them to be reliable. And I guess in times of world war, of world conflict, they're not reliable. One of them is a Chinese government agency, news outlet. And they were tweeting nonsense last night, complete propaganda. And this is a government-run Chinese station. Perhaps reliable for China, but not reliable to tell you what's happening in Ukraine. Complete incorrect information, glorifying and giving you false information about what Putin's doing. So, for purposes of Ukrainian news on the ground, number of troops, number of tanks, the latest battlegrounds, rely upon that. It is more up to date than even the U.S. broadcasters. No disrespect to the U.S. broadcasters risking their lives to be on the battleground to report, but these are the most in-depth elements. And, you know, if you want it by the minute, by the second, this is up to date. U.S. broadcasters are cutting away to cover other stories, and this is literally live information by the minute. Start on Twitter and bring you over to Facebook. All right, the second opportunity is to show your allegiance back at home. Everyone does things differently, and I respect everyone's allegiance. I stand with Ukraine. My position is to stop Putin and to stop Russia. If you did not hear what I led with this morning on a live broadcast earlier today, overnight, Vladimir Putin literally sounded like he's gone bonkers. He said that as to the next two neighboring countries of Russia, they're both considering to join NATO in the next few days. He says, if you do, I'm going after you next as well. Excuse me? Just literally sounding like a madman. And I think they were the countries of Finland and Norway, if I remember correctly, or Norway and Sweden. It was just crazy. Now, the latest details at the moment is that Vladimir Putin has underestimated the resources, the strategic alliances, the valiant efforts, and the conviction of the Ukrainian citizens in holding him back and his troops outside of the capital, Kyiv. 18 miles currently outside the capital. We will see what will happen. The time of this recording is a Saturday morning, just before 11:42 a.m. And I know the situation is very fluid, so that's why I want to give you a date stamp in there. Vladimir Putin thought he was going to take Kyiv overnight. In fact, President Zelensky, in his recording Friday, believed that that would be the last time you'd see himself alive. He actually said that in the recording. But what's at issue is that some of the analysts believe that the Russian troops have not been trained for this type of battle ever. This is a different type of battle, and they're not ready for this type of battle. And the number of machinery, tanks, and transporters that have exploded among Russian resources are absolutely astronomical because they underestimated the Ukrainian resolution against them. How do you support the efforts? Everyone has a different way to do things. Whether it's a protest, which I'm going to go over in a second, whether it is a flag in the front yard, which I'll go over in a second, or whether it's simply wearing a T-shirt. I understand that everything has a plus and a negative to it. And, you know, a T-shirt could be made in China and suddenly it's not made in the United States. And I understand that, you know, the T-shirts don't go to any of the citizens of Ukraine, but everyone does things differently. And this was a topic of discussion overnight on Twitter among LALATE and the Purple Power viewers. And I just wanted to touch on it. So you know what's out there and you have the options across the board. I personally like this. Showing support for people who are being ravaged by a madman can be done in many different ways. And one of the ways is simply wearing a T-shirt. I stand with Ukraine. If you go on Amazon.com, which I'm showing you right now, there is hundreds of brand new shirts that appeared in the last few hours. I've never seen such a surge of them, and I'm showing you several of them. You will see one of these, I believe, in the set in the next by Monday. And the I Stand With Ukraine, there's a lot of different ways to approach it. First of all, some of the T-shirts show it as the Ukraine flag by itself. Some of it show it as the American and the Ukrainian flag together. Some of it adds in the heart, and some of it is a little bit more aggressive that I can't show on camera. But the great news is that if you go on Amazon.com, people are asking me about this. They were asking me, how do you do it? Where do you get it? How does it work? So this is why I'm showing it to you, because this is an information site, information financial news channel. You go on Amazon.com. The keywords are I Stand With Ukraine. So that's the name of the T-shirts. They're actually called I Stand With Ukraine. And there's a lot of results. So when you get a result, you can limit the price point. They are ranging from $13 to $18. Some are even higher than that. They're great looking at $13. So you can go under there and limit the price point to, you know, 15 or less if you don't want any of those $17 shirts. If you're an Amazon Prime user, you're going to get it by Monday if you order it right now. Still by the end of Saturday, you can get it on Monday. And there you go. Amazon Prime is the fastest way to get these T-shirts by Monday. Again, I'm not involved with this. You know, people always talk about whatever. These are not my T-shirts. I'm just telling you how to get stuff. Now, I wanted to try to show you on Walmart some stuff, but it doesn't work good. So yeah, that's what we get when I show you Walmart. But on Walmart, you can get Ukrainian flags. You can get I Stand With Ukraine flags for the front lawn, for the porch. They're also on Amazon. There's also a cluster mixture where you can get small table flags. There are some pins that are really quite nice, but the shipping was sort of high. It was like $2 a pin, beautiful Ukrainian pin, but the shipping was almost $5, and it was going to take a while. So there's a lot of ways to do things. I thought it would be sort of simple to get a Ukrainian flag and just hang it, and there's a shortage. It's very hard to find them. So it's a very fluid situation, you know, and things may change. NATO. You may want to have a NATO flag with Vladimir Putin sort of putting his focuses next on NATO countries by next week. Not much out there for NATO. Very few T-shirts, very few flags, very few pendants, very few items for showing your allegiance for NATO out there at all. Very, very confusing. Of course, this breeds a whole discussion unto itself, which I don't want to go to. People capitalizing on an environment. It's all across the board. Now, let me go into another subject matter, which is very important, and that is protests. I'm really not happy with the lack of protests in the United States. Yeah, there should be a lot more of them. What the world is going around? We love to protest, and why have we not been protesting more than we are currently? There are Russian oligarchs who are very well known, who have been profiting at under the Putin regime, that are very well documented, who have bought real estate in Miami, bought real estate in New York, bought real estate in California. They're very well documented. We know what they do, how they made their billions of dollars, and how they buy real estate at 7 to 10 times the going rate as Russian oligarchs. And as soon as the invasion of Ukraine started, they got on their jets and flew out of here. But their homes are still here. Why are we not doing any type of formal protest against these Russian oligarchs? They have assets here on U.S. soils, and they are amongst us. And these are people that have profited under the Putin regime. So very, very unclear across the board. Now, let's go back into understanding what is next at hand. What's next at hand is the next few days will be very tense. There is concern whether Russian forces will be able to break into those final 18 miles around the capital. And then what happens? Well, there have been offers of settlement ceasefire negotiations, and those don't seem to be happening anytime soon. What's important to understand is that the families are being desecrated across the board. Outside the town, the capital, in residential areas, the homes are being exploded, destroyed. Inside the capital city, sky rises in a metropolis majoring 3 million citizens. Residential skyscrapers in a major city, floors are being destroyed with Russian missiles. The attack against civilians who are not military people is absolutely atrocious. Millions of Ukrainians have fled into Poland. Others are in the subway stations, hunkering down. And we as a country need to do more than we are. Let me jump in the live chat right now. Again, the footage you're looking at now is stock footage. It is not live footage. It is of the beautiful country before the ravages right now. Let me interact with you and see some of your incredible comments right now. There is a Schultz. How are you, Schultz? Keep your spirits high, says Deborah. Let's see some more of the questions and comments in the live chat. We will win, says Sandy. Absolutely. Let's see more of the comments. Anne says she bought her t-shirt and it's coming on Monday and it's purple. Yeah, so Anne got one of the t-shirts, and I'll show her comment. It was a lot. It was how Anne's comment was held by YouTube for the exact reason I will not be wearing my t-shirt on set, but I did buy the same t-shirt. And I think did I get in purple? I can't remember if I got in purple. I think I got in purple. But now you can see Anne's t-shirt. That is another expression, and I don't want to say it on air, but you can read in the comments. That is a very, I think it's going to be a very, very popular coin phrase. Ironically, there was only 250 tweets last night with that expression, if you take out the asterisk. And I think it's going to be a real catchphrase because people are just sickened by this man. So you can see that under Anne's comment as well. And I just unlocked it so you can see it. We need help in America as well. Links were, please give me links, says Donita. So we don't run links here, Donita, because there's, dozens of states, dozens of counties, dozens of cities. But what I do on this channel is I educate people how to find the money, pick up the phone and get that money from the city, county, and state across the land. there would be, it would take years for anyone to create links or phone databases for this. What I do is I educate you how to find that money, and you can do it. I've had viewers of all ages, young and old, across the board. Anne has a good point. What are the hashtag campaigns that you should be using? Oh, it got retracted. Well, I don't know if YouTube took it down or she took it down. I'll repeat them what she had just written, because that's a good point. I wanted to do that. The hashtag campaigns are the letter I. I stand with Ukraine all together. Hashtag stop Putin and hashtag stop Russia. Those are the most three common hashtag campaigns at the moment. Now, you can do your version of that. And some of them I'm not going to say on air because, you know, yeah, I don't want to get in trouble for foul language. But it's I stand with Ukraine. That is why those T-shirts actually had that. Now, let me go back to the T-shirts. One point at issue is that everyone expresses things differently. And, you know, some people express things with a flag. Some people express things with a little bit more aggressiveness. Let me show you one of the shirts right now. So when you go down and you can see other suggestions, let's say you find this shirt and you say, oh, okay, yeah, I found one shirt. What are the other options down here? Pull down the page and see, now suddenly you see all these other versions down here. They're black shirts, but when you click the individual shirt, you can change up the colors. You can go to white or red or blue or green. Now, sometimes you see countries' maps merge together. I particularly like the one with the heart, which is really sort of hard to get. You know, you would think a heart is the easiest one to get, but apparently it's not. And I like when I can combine it with a heart and also a message, because sometimes a heart, you don't know what you're saying. So let's look at one of the shirts right now. In this shirt, here you see it's green, it's gray. You can switch it to brown or green. And this is really just two flags. Remember, you know, you may want to keep it consistent with the color scheme of what's at issue. So I think going to green is just too darn confusing. But also, you may want something that has a lot more sentiment to what's at hand across the land. This is a more sort of basic type of T-shirt that doesn't say a lot of words across the land. But then there's all the other resources out there. I want to touch on those as well. We're going to start to see in the recent days more elements coming in about Red Cross or other relief agencies that you can give money to make sure that the refugees going into those neighboring countries have the resources they need. They're fleeing into Poland. They're fleeing where they can get to. And we're just at the first country that Vladimir Putin has explained his aggressions against so far. If we have more, then we have a more difficult situation across the land. Let's go, Jack, into the live chats. So Schultz, no disrespect for Schultz, he left out one of the letters. So it reads, I stand with you. Wait, what does it say? I stand with Ukraine. And I thought that was for Sandy. No, include the T. I stand with Ukraine. Yeah, you leave out a letter. It doesn't, you know, you don't want to buy a T-shirt that says the wrong thing. But I stand against, how do we protest against Russian oligarchs in Beverly Hills? And to learn about where the Russian oligarchs live in Beverly Hills, go to dirt.com. Yeah, just Google Russian oligarchs, Beverly Hills. It's the first result. And there is lots of Russian oligarchs in Beverly Hills in the Truesdale. Yeah, I don't want to be too specific, but they are right there, and they're very well known. We already know what island they are in Miami. We also know what condos were sold to them by the Trump administration, by Donald Trump before he was president. We know all this. It's not a hidden secret. We know what their businesses are in Russia. So this is not. It just jumps off the page. And that's what's important to understand. Let's see some more of the comments in there. LA for president, help our country get back for the people and stand against tyranny. Very serious. I'll vote for you, James Gregory. I appreciate that. There's a lot I could say in a recording like this, and I sometimes get torn because you know, last night, the time of this recording, of course, is Saturday morning about noon in Los Angeles. Last night, Friday night, at 5 o'clock, there's always traffic in Los Angeles. There was no one on the streets. No one on the streets. You know why? It's because we're all immigrants. We're almost all immigrants. You may not be an immigrant this generation, maybe not the generation before, but we're all immigrants. And sometimes the immigrants may have gone from Ukraine to France to America. It may have not been one duration. Maybe they moved in World War One, and then by the 40s they came to the United States, and by the 70s they came to another state. So it may be a little bit more extended out. A lot of people have a lot of concerns about the situation. You're in California, you're in Texas. I see people in the state of Michigan in the live chat. Big states, a lot of land. You're over in Europe. It ain't that far away from this conflict. These countries are just, very, very close. And that is why it's a very tense situation for people who have family members back there or were back there just 30, 40 years ago. They want to stay on top of the news. And that is why it's been sort of hard for me to report on this news, is because I've made the decision not to make this a war channel. I can't. I have to stay on point and go over the financial aspects and how it impacts your wallet, because that's what you need. You need to survive financially, and I need to ensure that you get money to pay your bills, to pay your rent, to pay your utilities. And to the extent that the world events of Russia and Ukraine impact that, I'm staying on point. But I'm also not going to leave you out of focus on what is happening overseas. I will touch on it across the board. That is why I really like you to follow me on Twitter, and that is where, when I'm not on camera, then you can see me retweeting the latest developing details. Ironically, if you don't realize, if you don't know, if you're not good with time zones, Europe's daytimes are our evenings. So when I'm off camera, it's evening here in Los Angeles, and that's sunrise in Europe, in Eastern Europe. And so it's a perfect delineation that if you want the latest updates on what's going on from the battleground, it's actually when I'm not on camera in the middle of the night, which is almost when overnight LA would be recording. And with that, stay informed, stay focused. Wow, that was a long recording. I expected they were going to go so long. And I stand with Ukraine. Stop Russia, stop Putin. The madness has to stop. And the next few days, very, very telling. We have a lot going on next week, folks. We have financial lot going on. The new inflation numbers will go out. We have that first FOMC meeting this next week. We have the latest implications of releasing the strategic oil reserves, if that brings down the price of gasoline at the pump. Thank God it does. Let's hope for it. We're at $100 a barrel right now. We have the latest details on Ukraine and Russia. And then we have everything else that you need to know, including the president's ability to get you additional relief and that bipartisan support. Of course, the CR for Stimulus 1.0. Oh, boy, we have a huge week ahead of us. So a lot to cover, and that is why this recording went a little bit longer than even I anticipated. Stay informed, stay focused. Follow me on Twitter at LALATE. If you have questions or comments, send it to me on private message. Stay informed, stay focused. Have a beautiful day. Join me next as Afternoons LA comes up right after this. This video will automatically take you there. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.